Hi, this is today's webinar. This is Start Your ICB Bookkeeping Journey. And my name's Stephen. From Training Link.
I'm Gary from Training Link.
And on today's webinar, we're shortly going to hand over to Peter Stewart from ICB, who's going to tell you all about ICB and their syllabus and what the qualifications and the membership will qualify you to do. Then after that, we're going to talk about Training Link and in particular how we run our ICB courses. And then we're going to have a chat with two of our students. We're joined today with by Sarah and Lindy, who are going to talk about their study journey with Training Link. And then after that, and I'd encourage you to do this throughout the webinar, there's a Q&A section on Zoom. So if you've got any questions at all during today's webinar, post them on the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll get through as many of them as we can a little bit later on. And then after that, we've got some exclusive webinar special offers that you won't find listed on the website. So please stick around until then. And that should take us up until 1 o'clock. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to encourage Peter to unmute and turn his camera on. And yeah, Peter, I think, have I stopped screening? Have I stopped sharing? I think I have. Yes. Peter, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar. I am, as Steve said, I am just about to share my my slide deck with the talking about ICB qualification. I think the reason why you want to hear this little bit is that I'm guessing that you're on your way into a career, you're trying to choose a career. And you will come across a half dozen different accounting and finance bodies that are all there for you to think about, to choose about, and you need to have this informed decision because you're going to invest a lot of your time into studying for a qualification, taking exams, and you want at the earliest possible stage to make sure that you are doing the right qualification. Now, I myself, about 100 years ago, started out training as a chartered accountant. And the reason I did that was because I knew no different. I just thought that was what there was to do. It was the career path after university to become a chartered accountant. And you know, I've had a good career out of it. It's been fine, but with hindsight, it wasn't the right thing for me to have gone into, and I do wish I'd had more information about my choices at the time. So hopefully, by going through this information about what ICB has to offer and what the future holds for you if you study ICB, then you'll be in a good position when you do start investing your time and money in the studies. So yeah, I was introduced. I'm Peter Stewart. My role is Director of Learning at ICB. That means that I look after what's in the syllabus and how it gets examined. I've been with ICB for 6 years. 6 years today, I think it is. So yeah, the balloons should be in the background, but they're not. Now, here's the thing about a bookkeeper. We design our syllabus to be practical and to be focused on the role of a bookkeeper. As I said, I've got a background in accountancy and I've covered far many more things in my learning than you see on the screen here. I'm not doing that to show off. I had no choice. And there are things that I studied for which I have never touched on since I did my exams. And there are things which I wish I'd gone into more depth on. So the ICB qualification gives you really what I would say is a single focus to become a bookkeeper. Now, a bookkeeper will support any type of business, a small business, a sole trader, a partnership, a limited company, and bookkeepers will have roles in larger organizations up to the National Health Service, the largest employer in the UK, I think, still. But what you're doing, this is the list of what you'll be able to say you can do. You can record and classify business transactions accurately and completely. That may mean nothing to you at the current point, but as soon as you get into your studies, it becomes important. That if you're spending money, is it an asset that you're buying, or is it an expenditure to keep the business running, or is it something else? So knowing where they go is hugely important for all businesses. ICB is at present unique in that it recognizes that people doing the job of bookkeeping and accountancy tend to use software to do so. So part of the qualification involves learning about how software works, how it supports you in doing the role, and we make sure that people can go into employment or go into practice able to use that software to get things right. There is a bit of accounting, so summarizing the transactions so that they end up with a balance sheet and a profit and loss account. We can help those businesses with their banking, with how they manage their cash flow, which is pretty important. Of course, no point just selling stuff and saying that you've got an invoice. You want the money in the bank so that you can pay your creditors. I mentioned the different types of entity, by which I mean the sole trader, the partnership, the limited company, the not-for-profit organization. They all have different requirements about how they report and who they report to and when they should report. That all comes through in our qualification. Compliance with HMRC is one thing that within the core qualification we do. A lot of businesses have to deal with VAT, and that involves quarterly reporting. More and more individuals will have to start dealing with what they're calling making tax digital when you do your self-assessment tax. Again, that's going to be within our syllabus, ready for when it goes live next year. Financial statements, we've got a little bit more on that rather than just drafting up and saying, there's your balance sheet and there's your profit and loss account, you can see under the skin of the business from the figures that you produce. And you can tell the business owner that you've got a concern in this area, or you've noticed that that area is doing particularly well. So it's not just produce the reports, but have a conversation with the business owner or business owners as to where their strengths and weaknesses lie, what opportunities they've got to improve profitability or to improve the cash position. And we are a professional body. We do expect our members to maintain high ethical professional standards. That's embedded throughout the qualification about, what does that actually mean to be working as a professional, and what duties do you have, what responsibilities do you have, whether it's between you and your client or the person who you're doing the books for, or if it's for HMRC, or if the business is going to be sharing its accounts with the bank to make a loan, then the bank, you've got a duty of care or responsibility towards everyone that's using the product of your work. So that's the be all and end all of when you become a member of the Institute. The syllabus itself is broken down into two certificates. Level 2, and what that takes you to a part qualification where you could elect to use the letters AICB after your name as an associate member of the Institute. Most people go on to the second part, which is bookkeeping and accounts. So preparing the accounts, being able to interpret, analyze them, and explain them. And that's when you're eligible to become a member, MICB, member of the Institute. The level 2 syllabus, it basically breaks down those things of what you can do into half and half. So it's recording the transactions, managing the payments, it's using the software. so that every invoice you've raised, every bill you've received, every payment you've made is summarized in a way that all bookkeepers, all accountants would be able to look at and understand. There are 3 exams within the level 2 to get you to the associate member. It's kind of a stepping stone or a gentle ladder. The introduction to bookkeeping and the adjustments to arrive at the trial balance is all about making sure that those transactions are recorded correctly and doing a few checks and balances, that there aren't any errors in the documentation or any input errors when you've been doing the recording of those. The A3 third exam is using the bookkeeping software. So it's not theoretical. It is, you will have a copy of bookkeeping software. You've probably seen some advertised for Sage or for QuickBooks or for Xero, etc. We don't mind which software it is that you're using. We are agnostic as to which one it is, but as long as you can produce the reports that summarize the transactions in a practical scenario that we set, then that shows your competence in that area. Now, the exams, just to carry on the part 3, on it says part 3, it should say A3, I do apologize. As I say, that's a very practical test. You might be using QuickBooks, you might be using Sage. We give you essentially a project to do to produce reports. It's kind of like a day exercise that you would have at work. So we set you the scenario, you plug all the information into your software, you press whatever buttons and clicks and so on software expects you to do, and you produce a set of reports which you upload and we get them for marking. Other than that exam, everything we do is computer-based, on demand. OTQs means objective test questioning, the most familiar being multiple choice, but we also have objectives of tell us what number should go in this cell. So you do a calculation, and it's not just select 1 from 4, it's you put your number in and it's got to be correct. And there are some that are multiple response, which 2 from this list are correct. So that's what objective test. There's only one correct answer to each question, so the computer knows what they'll be. It marks it for you, and it gives you your result almost instantly. The level 3 exams are all objective test, on demand, instant reply. So no doubt I've got that written on a slide in a moment. But the level 3 role goes from, once you've got a set of correctly recorded transactions, how do you turn them into recognizable accounts? So there are adjustments that you might need to do for accruals, prepayments, bad debts, depreciation. Again, you may not be familiar with what those terms are yet, but you certainly will be by the time you get through any finance, accounting, bookkeeping qualification. Managing the receipts, payments, banking, the VAT, say doing VAT returns, MTD, making tax digital. So those responsibilities all come in to the level 3. By that point, you're really looking at everything that the business needs to do for its accounts and getting the best information out that summarizes what the business has done over the last period usually being an accounting year, and where it stands just now, and being able to think about how that goes into the future and what you would plan for within that. So yeah, the level 3 moves on to preparing accounts rather than just recording transactions. There are 5 exams, at level 3. We have written 4 plus 1 for a reason. The M4, M5, M6, M7 all look at different types of business that different entities was a word that I used earlier. So there's the sole trader, the partnerships, the not-for-profit organizations, and limited companies. So you get the breadth of where you might be operating as a bookkeeper. Of course, you might find that you end up working for a company. You might end up working for the National Health Service. You could be in any one of these, in which case, of course, what you learned about sole traders may not be so relevant. But a lot of our members go into practice themselves to deliver bookkeeping services. And they'll take clients from any one of these. They might do the books for the local sports club or members club. They might do the books for the local plumber who's a sole trader, or maybe the local plumber set himself up as a limited company. So there are different reporting requirements, different preparation requirements. So a qualified bookkeeper can look after all forms of business. M8, the final exam, is synoptic. Now, up until now, every exam you will have done will have been open book. You do it at home, you do it at, in the library, you find a quiet place to do it. And you can use whatever resources you would as a bookkeeper. So you can switch on the government website, the HMRC website, to double check the VAT treatment of this purchase or that sale. You can do that during the exam because that's what we want you to do as a practicing bookkeeper, to double check what you're doing. Now, at the end of having done that, we do have this final synoptic exam, which is a test of the essentials of being a bookkeeper. It doesn't have its own syllabus, but it brings together what you've done through M4, M5, M6, M7, the important things that you really should have at your fingertips and for which we wouldn't expect you to be resorting to books or a website. So the M8 is a closed book exam, which is sat under remote invigilation, which is really a straightforward thing. It's just it comes with the exam platform. You don't have to buy anything. All you need to do is have a decent broadband connection and a smartphone or a tablet, which will be our eyes in the room checking that you're answering these questions without resorting to using books or having a qualified bookkeeper sitting in a corner underneath the desk feeding you the answers or something like that. So we used to do that as a centre-based exam, but as soon as the technology allowed us to deliver them using remote invigilation, that proved immensely popular and very easy to deliver. So that's what the exams are. Sorry, I've said all this stuff already. So, the synoptic exam is for us to see you doing work. We see your face, we see your ID to match to your face, and we know that it's you having done the work. So, yes, in theory, you could have had somebody sitting beside you doing the M4, the M5, and so on. That will all prove pointless because we need to see you pass the exam yourself. And please, I'm talking about exams a lot, and I know that people don't like exams and they're worrying and so on. I'll talk about that now. The principles of assessment that we have are, let's test what people need to know and need to be able to do. So the open book, as I said, is because if you were working at home as a bookkeeper, I would want you to double check. So you're not faced with a toss of a coin or whatever there might be. Everything in the exams is as practical as an exam question can be. So there's nothing sort of super hypothetical. Yes, there's fictitious company or business names and all the revenue that they generate and so on. That's all made up. But it's based from people, they're written by people who have done this in working life so that it's realistic. Now, the passing standard, otherwise known as the pass mark, this is the bit where if you're comparing ICB to any other accounting qualification, you might think, oh my goodness, is 85%. We want people to score at least 85% of the marks available in their exams. Exception for the synoptic exam, which is an open book. The reason is that it's open book. The reason is that when you're working as a bookkeeper, we expect you to get most things right. There are occasional discussions about, well, they should get everything right, so it should be 100%. We realize that you're doing exams, it's an artificial situation, there are nerves, there are reasons that you might make a little mistake in an exam that you wouldn't make in working life. So 85% is a high passing standard. But if you look at the point below, if you are supported through your training, your learning by Training Link, well, I mean, the chaps will talk about their pass rates themselves, but more than 90% of people pass these exams. The number of people that pass the M8 exam, it is always much higher than 90%. As I say, it's kind of putting a seal on everything that you've done to do that M8 exam, which has a 70% passing standard. So please don't compare organizations by the passing standard, the pass mark. That sort of betrays the nature of the exams. We are open book. We do allow you to work as you would in practice, and therefore we do expect and we do get very, very high performance in these. It's not unusual for people to get 100% in most of their exams. Now, once you've become a member, say every member has got the same skill set and will use that skill set as a bookkeeper. However, if you're working as a bookkeeper, you could find yourself working with a business that asks you to do extra things. And one of our students who's going to explain to you what the experience like, I know, is currently doing the diploma in payroll management. So, of course, the business that you're working with has staff. Staff have to be paid. You've got to look after the PAYE, taxation, national insurance. So this diploma in payroll management teaches you what you need to do and tests whether you can do it. Again, very practically, and using payroll software as your tool to get that done. Other things, advanced diplomas that, again, require you to be a bookkeeper really before going into them. But so many people, if you've got a sole trader or a partnership and you get to the point that you've done their accounts, they'll say, well, how much tax do I do? How do I do my tax return? And they'll ask you to do their tax return. So you can do a self-assessment tax certificate, which equips you to do that. But we don't make it compulsory. You are a member. You're a member because you're a bookkeeper. You're a member with benefits if you're a bookkeeper who can do self-assessment tax. Or if a number of your clients or people that you're working for are limited companies, then you can do the financial statements, which involves taking those accounts, putting them into the expected format for Companies House and filing them with Companies House, which is a commitment that a limited company has annually to do that, and also to do their corporation tax. So the same question gets asked of the bookkeeper. Right, now you've drafted my accounts, what next? And if you want to, you can do more chargeable hours, you can charge a higher rate because you're more highly qualified, and look after them in that way. The business insight is not in the same field. It's a very important learning certificate that we've got. And it's not bookkeeping as such, but it's the bit where you'll go in and you'll say you have a deep understanding of the business because you've managed all the transactions, but you've also got a deep understanding of the accounts. So you can say, in this context, your business is in difficulty, and this is a way out of it through the planning, through exercising control over certain activities or assets or whatever, and by making the right decisions. So, business insight, I mean, I would hope that even without an exam, it was something that everyone was trying to learn about. The bookkeeping software is developing to make it an option that you can get little insight reports coming out. Unless you've studied it, you're not able to communicate the value of those insight reports. So this is I think it's a very valuable certificate to have studied and to have made sense of. So yeah, that's a real whistle-stop tour. Believe me, I could have spent twice as long and got 3 times as passionate about it. So I hope that gives you enough of a flavour and something to think about as you make your choice as to where you study. It is, I think, say I've been in the game for a very long time. I think it's a very, very well focused qualification. It doesn't make you learn things that you don't need to do the job that we describe. That was lots of knots in there. I hope you managed to work your way through them.
Thank you very much for that, Peter.
Pleasure.
I'm going to go back to sharing my slides again. Okay, so who are TrainingLink? Well, TrainingLink have been around for 29 years. It was 1996, wasn't it? 1996. And we're subject area specialists. You won't find us offering hundreds of different courses. There's a number of providers out there that offer dozens, if not hundreds of different courses. That is not us. We just focus on accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll. And this is all we do. And it's a niche approach. And I think it helps us to keep maintain a focus on the materials and the support, just keeping that quality as high as it can possibly be. It's a concentrated focus and it gives us a huge advantage, and that's control over quality and content. We've got 100% control over our learning materials. There's no third-party content in there. The books, the tests, the additional resources that work together to offer a seamless, cohesive learning experience. And what I mean by that is it's perfectly possible for some providers to buy some off-the-shelf books and include some tutor support and things like that and call that a course. Whereas what we do here is the people that write the course materials are the people that will be offering you the tutor support. Everything is written here. And the advantage there is that we get continuous feedback from students, and that enables us to look again at the material. Is there an area where maybe a student needs a bit of extra clarification? Do they need some additional materials? Should we create some video content for them? Or do we need to go back to the original book and maybe add some extra material or tweak some of the language here and there? That's not possible if you're a training provider that is just buying pre-published material that's been sitting on a shelf for 2 or 3 years. So our courses are designed to give you the best possible chance of gaining your qualification, but it's not just about passing exams. Passing exams is obviously absolutely essential, but we're trying to move beyond that. We're trying to make sure that you are ready to do the job and that you're ready to start your own bookkeeping practice. A lot of the material that we offer, there's a lot of doing, isn't there? There's a real practical element.
Yeah, it reflects what Peter was saying just now, that it's about the practical aspects of it, that when you've got your qualification, you should actually know how to do the job as well, rather than just saying, I've just got lots and lots of knowledge and I know how to do this in my head, but I've never actually done it before. So we know that we learn better from doing. So every single chapter of the book has got lots of activities, lots of areas where you actually complete tests and assignments. So you're having to do this in a practical manner rather than just tick box exercises where it's is it this, is it that, or is it the other. So you will know the actual answer to it, and because you've actually done it, that's a bigger impression in your brain, really, because we do learn that way, that we've done something physically now rather than just read about how to do it. And that's always been our philosophy from day one. When this all started 29 years ago, we were buying materials from somewhere else. And we found that we had to create copious amounts of other material to go with it to make it actually work and to turn it into a course that people could complete and lots of people could complete, rather than just the average game that, well, 1 in 10 will just do it anyway. We wanted much better statistics than that. And consequently, yeah, we've spent years and years developing this material, the resources that go with it, the online platform where you get to do your activities, You take your assessments on there, which are instantly marked. We can input videos on there whenever we want. But the main thing is it's the content within those books. It's a process. You learn this, then you learn that, then you learn that. And again, it's structured. We don't want you doing chapter 9 to try and get through faster before you've done chapter 2, because chapter 9 won't make that much sense to you at that point. So it's a little bit controlling, but it's controlling in a good way, because we know what it takes on that learning path for a student to get from starting it to actually completing an exam and passing it first time every time, we hope.
And TrainingLink has got a very proud history of helping many, many students become freelance bookkeepers. I think we've had somewhere in the region of over 8,000 students, which, given that we're subject area, a bit of a niche provider, that's a lot of people.
It is, and I think it proves the point that if you're a provider of lots and lots of different subjects, that you can't particularly specialize in any of them, where our focus, everyone is full time here. The tutors are full time, everyone is full time. So our focus is entirely on that subject, and you get to be really, really good at it over the years, and you get to understand the students, the questions they ask, and you almost know a question is going to be asked before it's asked. We're ahead of the game on all of that, and we're always willing to learn something new. And if we do learn something new, we can make those changes because we have ownership of those materials.
Yep. And I think our expertise is reflected in the number of awards we've won over the years as well. Over 20 awards, including ICB's Large Training Provider of the Year 12 times, ICB Tutor of the Year 4 times, but we've got more than that.
Yeah,
more award-winning tutors in the building.
And we've had a couple of award winners who have since retired and more or less been replaced with people that won their award years before. So we seem to just keep on recruiting people that are at the top of their game. And because it is actually a career, it's full time. They don't have an accountancy practice or a bookkeeping practice and do a bit of tutoring in their spare time. These are careers for these people, and they're dedicated and passionate about getting their students through and making sure they've got the absolute best experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of, I think what amazed me is when I first arrived here, is I could regularly hear tutors talking to each other, and then name check students saying, "Oh, do you know so and so? Oh, she's just passed her M8,
Yeah.
and or so and so's just passed her A3 exam." And there's a real feeling that there's a real sense of pride.
Yeah. We don't do poppers anymore.
There's a real sense of pride with the tutors about helping. They'd just love to help students and get people through their exams.
Yeah.
So why study online? Well, you're in charge. You dictate the pace of progression. So that means if you need to fast track your studies, you can. If you prefer to study only at weekends, that's fine. And if you can't stick to the same schedule days, this works too. We find there's a lot of people that want to study a subject, want to study bookkeeping or accounting, and they can't stick to a rigid traditional college timetable. And that's why online learning works very well for them. It's completely flexible.
Yeah.
You get some people that absolutely race through their courses, and you get some people where family circumstances or something like that, maybe they're studying part-time with a full-time job, means they need a little bit more time. All of that works with online learning. It is completely flexible.
We thought we had some extremes on that side of things as well. We've got lots of people that have, broken all sorts of records and made us think, how on earth did you do that? But I think 2 weeks ago, we had a gentleman getting in touch with us on the Sunday saying he'd like to book his first ICB exam. And when we looked at it, he only received his course on the Friday. And sure enough, I went online and checked that he'd done all of his assessments, he'd done all of his tests and everything else. And sure enough, he was ready for that exam. What time he actually started on Friday and when he went to bed and went to sleep, I don't know. But by Sunday afternoon, he was ready for his first exam. I went and checked it because I thought, no, surely not. But he had. He just focused on it. And that again, it's the way we structure things. It's about that self-progression. He didn't have to contact his tutor 25 times to get to that point because the material's so well written and it flows together so well. In other words, you do a chapter, you read a chapter, you do an activity, it's marked instantly. You can self-progress as fast as you want. But if you need a tutor, then obviously a tutor's there. I've always looked at tutors as people that get in the way of people's studies, because if you've got to contact them, that could be, oh, it could be a day or a few hours where your study's now being interrupted. We want this to be a case of you didn't have to contact the tutor once and you passed 100% within 4 days, not two, four. Um, but that's the way it's built. Obviously, you can take 4 months, you can even take 4 years if you want, but it's designed for this fast track situation because we're all in a rush today. We've only got a certain window to be able to do things. And if you can progress as much as you possibly can within that hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours of study, then that's great. It motivates you as well because you think, oh, I've done all of this. Um, so yeah, it really is. You know, we keep seeing these records broken all the time. But yeah, if you need longer, we're here for that as well. We understand that no two students are identical.
Yeah.
Everyone is absolutely different.
We had one spell where yeah, I was publishing some case studies of some of our recent students, and we had a spell where several of them had absolutely they'd gone through it so quickly, unbelievably fast. And then I had an email that came through, and it was a little bit downcast, wasn't it? Really, because it was well, if I can't study it that quick, does that mean I don't get the opportunity to, be put forward for
Students of the year.
ICB Student of the Year? So that obviously made me think again about making sure that there's a more representative sample of case studies that are out there. Because it's some people want to fast track, that's fine. Some people need to take their time. And fast forward a year or two later, and I was reading some about a particular student, and I thought, oh, she looked like a fantastic person to submit for ICB Student of the Year. And I reread the correspondence, and she was actually the student who was initially that little bit despondent about pace, and she got absolutely fantastic marks. She did incredibly well, and we did submit her, and she ended up getting shortlisted for Students of the Year, which is an incredible journey for her. But just to talk about the study experience. Trainlink's printed study manuals, they contain lessons and examples, which goes back to what Gary's talked about already, and practical hands-on activities to ensure you have knowledge and skills. And that touches on the point I made earlier on about wanting to make sure that you go beyond passing the exams. You really are ready to just start that job on day one. Award-winning support from full-time tutors. There are no part-time tutors in the building. Everyone works full-time here, and you can contact them by email and phone. Online resources to help you fast-track your studies. So that's ebooks, assignments, tests, mock exams, and we've got a whole load of video content in the online learning portal as well. 24/7 assignment marking with instant results and personal tutor feedback. The Student Services Department is open 7 days a week, and everything you need is included. There are no add-ons needed in terms of reference materials or resource fees. All of the course material is included. And it also includes access to Student Street. Now, Student Street is our peer-to-peer support group, and it's in Facebook, which means you don't have to learn how to use a new app. And you'll be able to talk to other students, talk to tutors, and there's currently over 5,600 members. Now, we think the study experience that we've got, the books, the online resources, the videos, the auto-marked assessments, the tutor support, all of that contributes to some fantastic pass rates. So for level 2 bookkeeping, our pass rate is 90%, and that's from 373 assessments taken. And our level 3 bookkeeping pass rate is 92% from 405 assessments taken. And this is based on the most recent calendar year. And if I'd always encourage you to please take a look at our Trustpilot and FIFO ratings, but in particular, I think it's important if when you're looking at reviews, the reviews that we tend to get tend to be very detailed. We don't do what a lot of companies do nowadays, which is to encourage people to review almost immediately after they've placed an order. That's why, by and large, you tend to find a lot of companies now, if you go on their review page, it tends to say things like 5 stars, goods arrived quickly, person I spoke to on the phone was very helpful, 5 stars. That's no use whatsoever in understanding which training provider is actually worth your time. So you tend to find the reviews that we get talk about the course. They talk about the course materials. They talk about the tutor support. You won't find lots of irrelevant 5 star reviews just clogging up the profile. And that's the same for FIFO reviews as well. But if you want to get an idea of what you could do, where you could go with your ICB qualifications, it's always worthwhile taking a look at the student success section. There's lots of fantastic case studies. I think Siobhan is actually the student that I mentioned earlier on. She sent me the email good few years back complaining about fast track. Does this mean I won't get to be student of the year? And she took her time, incredible results, and yes, she did end up getting a shortlisting for student of the year. Right. At this point, I'd love to have a chat with two of our current Training Link students. We're joined today by Sarah Curtis and Lindy Jacobs. If you can just turn your cameras on and take yourselves off mute. Hi, how are we doing?
Hiya, hi.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Lindy.
Hi, how are you all doing?
Not bad, not bad. Can't complain. Right, I'd just like to get an understanding of your background and just get an understanding of what was your career like before you started studying bookkeeping, Lindy?
So before I started, I was actually on maternity leave. I'd been working in the civil service for almost 7 years, I think. And then the time came to have a baby, had my son, and then I decided that I I wasn't necessarily being fulfilled in what I was doing. Yes, I loved my job. It was a great job, paid well, but I wanted something that I was more passionate about. And bookkeeping had been something that I'd done on and off for years, but it's something that I enjoy doing. So even when I talk to other business owners, they'd be like, the one thing I hate about my business is doing the books. And I'd be like, wow, that's the one thing that I love doing, the thing that you hate. So my husband and I made the decision that I wouldn't go back to work, but I would pursue bookkeeping as a career. So everything changed from there for me, basically.
Okay, fantastic. The same question to you, Sarah. What did your career look like before you started to study bookkeeping?
Well, just before I started the course, I was working as an office manager, and I was made redundant when the company was bought by a group. So my role was consolidated to their head office, and I'd worked quite closely with our external bookkeeper, and I did some during my A levels, and I started to look at whether I should become a bookkeeper. I also my care and responsibilities at home, as I'm a carer for my elderly mum, became clear that trying to go out to work for full-time employment would be more challenging. And so, yeah, I started looking into becoming a self-employed bookkeeper.
Okay, so it'd be fair to say that the flexibility of working as a bookkeeper is has been appealing to both of you.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, okay. So how did you find ICB? Where did you hear about ICB?
Oh, well, for me, I was looking at various different bodies and watched webinars such as this one a couple of years ago. And I just settled on ICB really because of the support that they offer to directly becoming self-employed bookkeepers and starting your own business.
Okay, and Lindy, how did you come across ICB?
So I actually had conversations with accountants that I know, and I was asking them because a lot of the times you hear ICB and then you hear AAT.
Mm.
So then I wasn't sure which of the two to go with. And an accountant friend of mine actually said, if you really look into both of them, AAT is amazing if you still want to remain employed, whereas ICB is great if you want to become self-employed. And because of my caring responsibilities as well, I didn't necessarily want to go back to employment. So ICB was more attractive to me for that reason.
Okay. Okay. And how do you come across training? How did you find us?
I actually did a Google search for different providers that were doing courses in bookkeeping, and Training Link was actually, I think, one of the first that came up on Google. And then when I started to deep dive and have a look, Training Link is really good at breaking down what's involved in like the different levels. So if you're looking at the level two, it would literally break everything down for you. And same with the level three, same with the level fours. And that was a lot of detail for me that I was able to get from Training Link that I wasn't necessarily able to get from other providers.
That's because that's all we do. Again,
We
a bit
get bored.
obsessive.
We'll get bored if we don't keep on doing it.
So, what did you find the study experience to be like when you enrolled with us? Well, first of all, which one did you enroll on?
So I enrolled on the level two and three, the combined level two and three, but then I also made sure to also pay for the exams with that as well, because I thought it might work better for me if I do it that way. So that's what I started with. And to be honest, I think when I started, because it was something new and something fresh for me, it was like, oh my God, how am I going to get this done? And I was still dealing with a lot of baby brain at the time. So I was like, how am I going to get this done? But honestly, I feel like the support in terms of the way the syllabus is broken down, the way the books are like broken down as well as the tutor support, it really got me through. Like it really helped me. So I found it really helpful and really good when I did the level twos and threes. I then even went on to do the level fours because I was really into it and enjoying it that much. So I went on to do the level fours as well.
Okay, and what are you on at the moment? Is it payroll?
No, so I've done the self-assessment, financial statements, corporation tax. I've done all of those. Payroll's the only one that I've
Oh,
started it, but I've not finished it yet.
yes. Yeah. And Sarah, what made you choose Training Link? How did you find us?
Similar. I started initially with a Google search and found various different training providers. Looked different Facebook groups to see what other students were using, what ICB recommended. Um, I then sort of looked at what different softwares those training providers used in terms of MacBook and Windows, and got some samples. You kindly do like a little course sample, and actually looked at the course materials. And I personally found that from that sample, the way your materials were presented worked best with my understanding compared to some of the other training providers. So that's why I went with you.
Okay, what's in the free sample?
Not a lot, really. There's a sample chapter but basically shows how
Mhm.
we write. I think there's a video in there. There's a couple of assessments maybe
Okay,
in there. So you've got a
yeah.
couple of sample
So the,
assessments, so you get to read a little bit and then get to see how you would actually take
mm,
an assessment associated to that text that you just read through.
it gives you enough of a flavour, I think, to for people to understand
Yeah,
what the approach is and the style of
yeah,
the way we write
yeah.
and what kind of content people are going to get.
Yeah, it's a snippet, but it is. Yeah, that's the idea of it. You can do some read. Obviously, you can't get a printed textbook with it, but you get the PDF online or the flip book, whichever it is,
Mm.
and then you can go through, do some activities, and then do an assessment at the end of it. Then you get to also experience how it's instantly marked, and you get the email straight into your inbox telling you what your result was. And you can actually go back in and review your results as well, if you wanted to. I think most people escape at that time with the free sample, think, oh, got it done. I'm out of here now.
So, just out of interest, just to talk again a little bit more about the study experience. So, do you are you somebody that prefers to study with the online resort, just purely with the online resources, or do you enjoy working through the books?
I personally quite enjoy the physical textbooks, but I've also find it very useful to have the electronic versions, so that depending on where you are, you can just whip out your iPad or whatever, or your phone, and just nip through things. I often also have an iPad and a laptop and a notebook, and I have I have multiple devices open with different things going on at the same time, which is quite useful as well.
Lindy, same question to you. What style of learning do you find interests you the most? Is it do you tend to work your way through the books, or are you purely online?
So I'm actually the same as Sarah. I find the books really helpful because I can write on them, I can highlight them,
Yeah.
make my notes. But I also loved working online because if I was away from home, I was just opening up the website and logging into Rogo and then looking at the stuff that I needed to look at. So both are useful, but as you say, it depends with the type of learner that you are. If you're someone who prefers to do stuff online, it's there for you. If you're someone who prefers to use the book, it's there for you. But I do also love the fact that I do get to keep the book afterwards for as long as I need it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Agreed.
reference material for
Yeah,
afterwards.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. I do think I feel like people are missing a trick sometimes with subscriptions to online learning portals where, you're going to miss that material afterwards. It's nice to have something. You say, well, I've worked through that,
Yeah.
and it's good reference material to have.
So you could actually be working in practice and doing someone's books at, the level 3 topics, if you like, but you don't quite 100% remember exactly how to process to follow. You can go back to your book, can't you? You can say, right, you know what the chapter it was, you know where the subject is, you go in and just refreshes you. And I'll do it's just like your little library there, of all the information you could ever need, because you can't remember it all. It's impossible. You need sometimes just need a little trigger, don't you? To, oh yes, I remember now. You do that, then that, then that.
Agreed.
So yeah.
So how long has it taken you to get through the level 2 and the level 3, Linda?
So it took me, I think, almost 6 months to get through the level 2 and the level 3. Um, but I was doing that whilst also looking after my son because he was in a nursery at the time. So my husband and I just found a way to just juggle life and our son and
Wow.
me doing everything.
Yeah, we do allow over 2 years to do that, so you did quite well there, didn't
Yes.
you?
That's
I
very
think
quick.
But you're
once,
the perfect example then, really, aren't you? That it's your pace, not ours.
yes,
Um,
I think once I started, because I was getting more and more into it, I was really
yeah,
driven to get it done. So I found that it was fine for me to keep going at that pace. But
yeah,
I definitely love the fact that I can take a break and then come back to it, as you say, that you've got time to do it.
yeah. A lot of people have said to us over the years that they found the tests quite motivational. Because obviously, if you've read about it, now you take a test. If you pass it, and because it's instantly marked, you think, oh, I'm going to do some more,
Yeah.
because it just motivates you to want to do more. And eventually, maybe you may fail a test or something. You think, oh, I'll slow down a bit now. But yeah, that's the idea of it, self-progression. Because everyone's got a different study window. People work shifts, various shifts, and some people work continental, don't they? They'll do a morning, an afternoon, and then a night, and so that's the whole idea of it, and it's what we were thinking right from day one, that the material and systems that were out there didn't take that into account. It was just like, well, here's this great big book, you've got to read it and then take an exam at the end of it. It has its tiny chunks all the way through. And just it's embedded better that way, I think. And you've also got your points, your reference points to say where you are now. You know that because you've passed all of these assignments at this point. So yeah, well done for that.
Absolutely.
We didn't invite you on here on purpose because we didn't look at that beforehand.
Question, Sarah. So what are your plans for the future? Now you've got your practice license. You've applied for your practice license, haven't you?
No, not quite yet. I'm just going to do my payroll first, and then hopefully we'll be applying for my practice license and starting my business in the new year in 2026. So that's my plans.
Fabulous.
I've
Well, I hope
started
you.
getting my office and started planning
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the background, ready for all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all
Well,
systems go.
yeah, I always say that the level 3s and level 4s, well, level 3 payroll and then the level 4s, it's a little bit like any tradesperson having extra tools in their toolkit. It now means we can offer more services. And this is the thing, I've always said it with this bookkeeping thing, that it's okay saying just do to level 3, but you've got to pass to someone else then to do the payroll or the self-assessment tax returns or the court tax. If you bring all that in for that extra bit of study time and those qualifications, that you've got that client then you're providing a whole service, not sending them somewhere else for this and somewhere else for that. So yeah, you got your full toolkit then.
Absolutely. Lindy, same question to you, really. So what are the next steps for you?
So I've started my practice called Legacy Figures Accounting.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm at the moment. But because I was also getting to finish the level fours, I just passed my self-assessment level four last Thursday. So because I was also getting to do that, my focus was get the level fours done and then really focus and hone in on the business. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm at the point where I'm trying to decide my niche, and I do get to work with my husband because he's a business analyst. So I'm at the point where we're trying to figure out the niche, and once we figure that out, it's all systems go for us.
It is good to specialize, certain industries, because you get to know all the ins and outs of it, and you can even sometimes give some good advice to your client. Why you're buying your supplies from there. I've heard this is much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to specialize. Like us, we specialize. We're experts at what we do, and you can be an expert in your field. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic stuff. It's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you both
Yeah,
today.
thank you very much.
And yeah, thank you very much. And I'll be in touch at some point as well, because as soon as you launch your practice, we'll feature a page on the website in the student success
Yeah,
section.
keep us
We'll
posted.
give you a backlink to your website and get to a bit of a highlighting on social media as well. It'll be really good.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Lovely to see you both, and yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, bye.
Right, so I think moving on now, we've got some special offers. So I'm just going to share my screen. And today, yes, is the ICB Level 2 certificate in bookkeeping. If you go on the website, it is currently priced at £590. The Level 3 is 700. And for Level 2 and 3 combined, that's £1,000. But with this exclusive webinar discount code, you can save 15%. So that would bring Level 2 down to £501.50. Level 3 down to £595. And Level 2 and 3 down to £850. So please make a note of that, because that code is not listed on the website. We haven't emailed anyone about it either. So that's exclusive to this webinar. So just ICB webinar on the checkout section of the website, and you'll get those exclusive prices. And that discount code will expire on the 30th of September. Also, as well, at the moment, we are running another special offer, because all of those courses will include free exam kits. So that's a printed question bank for each unit, a mock exam, and an extra online mock exam with tutor engagement. And that would typically, if you purchase those separately, that'd cost £45 a unit.
Exam kits was something that we introduced earlier this year because we had a lot of people getting in touch with us. Maybe they were self-studying or studying elsewhere. They felt they needed a bit more help. Have you got anything? So we actually created these question banks and the additional mock exams. And we just thought, well, you know what? Occasionally we should give them away for free with people that buy the courses from us as well, because it was additional material to what we were already doing. So yeah, it's a nice little offer to get yourself some extra preparation material for the exams.
Absolutely. Right, and again, to make sure you get that part of the special offer, just use the ICB webinar code, and that will give you 15% off the courses we mentioned earlier on, and give you free exam kits as well. And again, that expires on the 30th of September. Right, so I can see there's a few questions piling up. So we're going to do our best to get through as many of those as we can. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Right, so which questions have we got? So, question from Louise Bailey. I presume we would purchase the software, e.g. QuickBooks, that we use, and would you say these are self-explanatory, and would you have to set aside time to learn this too? I'm not sure what
We don't training written for QuickBooks, but we have got it for Sage, Sage Business Cloud or Xero.
Yeah.
And we include that software for you to be able to complete those studies. You mentioned QuickBooks there. We've never done it for QuickBooks. Main reason being there's never been that greater demand for it. Sage and Xero are the main ones in this area.
Do most people get some experience with an employer before becoming freelance? Is this what you would recommend? And do employers recognize this qualification? Do you think Peter might want to contribute to this one as well if he's around, Peter? He's going to unmute himself.
I'm unmuting.
There we
Sorry,
go.
I was typing an answer
Caught
to
you
another
on
question
the
as well.
hop there, Peter.
Yeah, I was typing an answer to another of the questions there, so I'll just maybe just say it. So sorry, we're looking at the experience that you have before going freelance. Now, it's certainly not the majority who do that. A lot of people, they come through with the sort of backgrounds like Lindsay and Sarah have had. They've had careers that they're changing to go into this, and there's an element of confidence about it, and I think that the nature of the course and the qualification delivers that confidence. Like I said, it makes sure that you can do what you need to do. But there's certainly no prerequisite that you must have that experience. And so there's maybe a halfway house that ICB, and certainly compared to the other accountancy bodies that I've worked with in the past, it is so much more of a community of members and students that you could probably find yourself with one of our existing practices who looks for a part-time bookkeeper or a bookkeeper who they'll give that experience under supervision to. So if you didn't quite have the confidence to go on your own, you could spend some time doing that within an ICB practice.
Okay. Should we do that one?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Well, I'll read that one. So with AI, Peter, you're really going to be able to help with this one, I think, as well. With AI slowly taking over in the bookkeeping environment, citation needed, and making the job market more competitive, what can bookkeepers do to stay relevant in the coming years?
I think it goes back to when I was talking through about the AI. I mean, I'm a little bit cynical about what AI is. It's handling lots of data to do things and summarize information for you. I hesitate to talk about the intelligence part of artificial intelligence, because what I've seen so far of AI being used in accounting or bookkeeping packages is it says, all right, now here's your accounts. Oh, and here's some ratios that you really need to pay some attention to. And it's following a formula, and it doesn't have, this is why we call that exam business insight. It doesn't know the business itself. It doesn't know the people. It doesn't know, maybe they take Thursdays off, and that means that sometimes things don't kind of look like another business would if they work 5 days a week. So it's the relationship that the bookkeeper has with the business owner and gets under the skin of that business and can talk knowledgeably about what that business has done and where it goes. Now, of course, I've made a big thing about us using bookkeeping software, which, that simplifies the process. And it may be what some people talk about using AI. You put all your invoices through the same process and it just handles them quickly. You deal with things digitally without necessarily having paper invoices. And again, it's handling large volumes of data and coming to a conclusion. But the future for the bookkeeper is, to have the finger on the pulse of each business, to have that personal understanding of who owns the business and what their preferences are for things like hours of work could be just one example of something that is worth knowing. So So yes, the talk of AI taking over, I think, is exaggerated and premature, but people with far more industry insight than me make their forecasts, and they say that the growth in the number of jobs will slow down or whatever. But yeah, we can sort of backfill that with the insight and the understanding of the businesses.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's the same. You develop a relationship with your client. You develop a relationship with anyone that you're doing the bookkeeping and accounting for. And robots can't do that. You can't pick up the telephone to your robot and say, "Hey, what time was that meeting we were having tomorrow? What can you know?" I can't see ever replacing
No.
the personal service that you provide to your clients. Yes, it'll come in handy because even bookkeepers will say, "Okay, I've got this bit of software here that helps me to understand certain things," as you're saying there about ratios, things of that sort. So it's a little bit like having another tool, almost like having Sage, Zero, QuickBooks, or whatever, any other piece of software that just helps you with your job. But you're never going to be able to get a self-employed robot going out speaking to a client about his business. It's just never going to happen. So no, I think it can help with CPD. It can certainly help bookkeepers keep up to speed with certain things, but it is still very much a personal service and still very much, as we mentioned before, a practical task as well, bookkeeping. You can't just push a button and say, "Go on, robot, sort that out for me." You'd have a lot of very unhappy clients.
There's one question from about the bridging unit. So I think if you presumably are with another awarding or membership organization at the moment, we do offer an ICB bridging unit.
We've got a page on our website dedicated to it, so it will go through basically what you've already done up to now and what you would possibly need to do to then maybe do that bridging unit and go through to get through to level 3 of ICB. But it does depend very much on what you've done and how long ago that those exams were taken. Sometimes a bridging unit may not be needed, but it will depend on what you've completed. So yeah, you may need to just get in touch with us, let us know what you've done, how long ago, and we can assess it then and say, okay, you might need to do this, you might need to do that also.
Do we take students from outside the UK?
We have got a few. We don't take on an awful lot simply because we use textbooks. We're not using e-learning predominantly. And certain countries are not very, very good at delivering items to our students. So we don't try to encourage that to happen, but there isn't a problem. Obviously we can take students, and we've got students in many different countries, but there can be certain problems involved within that. I believe the ICB certification is recognised pretty much throughout Europe. I don't know about worldwide, Peter. I'm not sure. I know he's got the American arm going over there, but
yeah, we do have we are recognised in India and in some certainly we're used in some parts of Africa. One of the areas of demand there is for outsourcing of bookkeeping services. So like I can't remember the right word for it, but not call centres, but the equivalent. So they're qualified bookkeepers who are working in West Africa. It's one of them, and in India. So yeah, people take the exams and the qualifications there. But yeah, the issue that we got is the logistics of getting books to them.
I think within that question as well, it was a little bit like I want to be able to work in my own country, but work with English clients. I think yes, you can do that as long as you know your English clients well. I don't think it would be easy to find clients when you say that you're operating from another country. Just the way things are, the general feeling with fraud and various things that go on now. So there wouldn't be a great deal of confidence in that. But there's certainly no stopping anyone from taking on clients in their own country. Yes, certain legislation may be different, but the process of bookkeeping and accounting is the same all over the world. So yeah, I would always be a little bit cautious unless, you know, if you're in France and you want to take on English clients, I would say, yes, of course you can, as long as you know those English clients to begin with and you already have that relationship with them. So it doesn't matter where you are.
Okay.
Yeah. There's another question down there, but it's about based on
I
this.
think I think there's I think that's a question about another awarding body, so we can reach out to Sunday separately about that.
Yeah, I think there's one there from Sunday. I think the thing to do there is go on the website, hit the contact form there, ask the question, and one of the girls will sort you out on that so we can establish exactly what it is that you want to do. But yeah, when you talk about discounts, then yes, of course, the discounts would apply. But yeah, just get in touch with Student Services or just hit the contact form, contact us, and we'll get back to you on that.
I think the last just going through these now, I think that really the last question worth tackling, I think, is that yes, TrainLink course fees can be paid in instalments as finance available. So if you go onto the website, you'll be able to take a look at the different finance options we've got.
Yeah.
Some are over 12 months interest free, and some of the the bigger packages, you can spread the payments over. Is it up to 24 months?
I think some of them, the more expensive ones, are up to 3 years, I think.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, you can take a look at on the website. All the details will be on there. Likewise, there's a question here about the level 2 and the 3 exams. If you studied the level 2 and the 3 course combined, we do have an option where you can include the exams as part of that. And again, if you that's actually a really good idea because you can obviously put that on finance and spread the cost over 12
Yeah.
months if you need to.
Someone actually asking the cost of the exams for level 2 and 3. £92 each, Charlie Peter?
Yes, 92.
£92 each. So you would have 8 times 92 there.
I think that's probably everything. I think that's all the questions sorted for now.
Yeah.
So
some of them were already answered within
yes,
the context of the webinar.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fabulous stuff. So all that remains then is I'll just restate that offer code one last time. So I'm just very quickly going to share my screen again so you can write it down. But yes, the special offers save 15% with the discount code ICB webinar, and that discount code will expire on the 30th of September. Okay, so I'd just like to say thank you for joining us today, Peter.
Yep.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Lindy. So thank you very much, everyone.
Right.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye now.